The Business Simplicity Podcast, where leaders share their most successful strategies and the failures that inspired them, so business owners and managers can avoid the suffering and reap the benefits. With your host, Chris Parker.
Hey, this is Chris Parker with the Business Simplicity Podcast. I am having a conversation with Mohammad Hassan from Tactful AI. And before we get into that, if you want to contribute to the podcast, then subscribing on your favorite podcast platform or sharing, like actually sharing the link with someone who would be interested in this conversation or the other conversations, please do it. We would love it. Mohammad and I have known each other for, I don't know exactly, maybe a year. We've been in touch. My organization, Destiny, is now his organization as well, because we've acquired Tactful AI. And a previous episode, 2 episodes ago, we had Mohammad Amasri, who's the CEO of Tactful AI, and Mohammad Hassan is the head of technology, so the CTO. And so we're going to have a fun, interesting, a slightly different view on the same organization. So this is not a formal Destiny podcast, just so you know. So this is actually the Business Simplicity Podcast. So we're going to avoid any financial or other specific, commercial topics around Destiny or Tactful. And it's going to be a great conversation about creating value through simplicity. So Mohammad, thank you so much for joining. I'm really looking forward to this, and also looking forward to seeing you in Cairo in a couple of weeks.
So thank you, Chris. It's really thank you for having me. And this is the first time I record a podcast, so I'm really excited to have this conversation, and hopefully having a nice information to share also.
Well, I know you do. Can you kick us off, Mohammad, by in the most simple way possible, to share with people, what do you do?
So I am head of technology in Tactful AI now. Most of my daily work balances between building the team, making sure they have the right capabilities, and also building our technology roadmap. So as a quick intro, Tactful AI is a customer experience platform. We help businesses manage their customer experiences in a better way. So every digital channel they deal with, every way a customer can connect to them, we try to simplify this process, either by adding AI that will help you get a quicker answer, help solve a problem, or even improve the experience of whoever person in the business is helping you, so the agent in this case, or the customer success, or customer manager. So we try to simplify the whole process, the whole journey, and we try also to help you achieve your business goals with these customers as well, like either solidifying the brand, helping you sell more, convert faster, and so on.
Can you share, just to make it maybe a bit more concrete, because I understood all that, but we've been talking for over a year. What is a example, or your favorite example, of a customer use case? What are they using it for, and what value are they getting, and why do you love that case for yourself?
Also, one of our customers is like an electronics store. So they build electronic devices and they sell them. And most people in the summer here I live in Cairo, so in the summer it gets very hot, and this is the season to sell ACs, so or air conditioners. Usually they get a flood of questions, and they have marketing campaigns and all this stuff. And they need to handle all the questions, like what size do I get for my room, which models, what's available, what's not available, and so on. And usually people are in the market to look, this is a big decision. This is a large chunk of money when you buy an AC. So they want to be well informed. So they can reach you over Facebook, they can reach you over WhatsApp, they can reach you over the website, and they are browsing in the website and not finding what they need and so on. So they jump in like in a chat window and ask you a couple of questions. So either the AI answers them, and it already learns and knows about all the products and all the prices and all the availability and the feature and stuff like this, and it tries to help as much as it can. And then if not successful for any reason, or if it's a complex topic that doesn't know about, so for example, after I buy the AC, I could have I might need another unit, or I might have some like maintenance work need to be done. So my journey is now completing, or continuing with this business. So we try to help them through this journey as well. And when you are happy, you're usually using Facebook, and when you are annoyed and want some maintenance, you're usually using a different channel, maybe a phone call or something. So being able to bridge this cycle and bridge this journey is what we try to achieve.
Yeah. Now, do you know that for sure, that people are when they're happy, they're on Facebook, and when they're unhappy, they're on another channel, or is that just a belief?
We have some stats. This is a belief. I guess it's something I observed over time. I never tried to look up the numbers, but I feel I do this way. I do it this way, and somehow one of them feels immediate, and the other is for browsing and so. And we do see different use cases on different channels. So when we work with business and they have more of a sales use case, they usually are looking into Facebook and maybe Instagram. But when they have like a support use case, they're usually looking into WhatsApp. It feels more immediate.Maybe it's handy and more available. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a couple products with Tactful. There's the unified UCX, Unified Customer Experience Platform, which is what you're talking about, and what's also being worked on is the conversational analytics that will be able to tell us that, what is the sentiment and what is the attitude of people coming in through different channels. So I was just curious if you had already seen some output of that. So outstanding. Now, when we were talking about setting up this podcast, the suggestion of topic you suggested was honestly something I'd never heard of before, and that really excited me. It's like, oh, I'm going to learn something. And you called it Peopleware, and so when the question was, hey, Mohammad, is there a strategy or tactic that you can share and talk about, from your experience, to help people succeed, and maybe also talk about why you like that. Maybe did that resolve a problem for you? And you came up with this term, Peopleware. What is Peopleware?
Okay, so Peopleware is a term we use in the software community to basically refer to how people, which is our engineering teams or something like this, would work on a software, would build a software. So how the relation and how the structure of these people will affect the software or the final outcome. There are many books on the topic, but there is a famous book by Tom DeMarco that's titled Peopleware, and I guess he maybe dubbed this name, or so they divided in the psyche of the software managers, and it's really like a go-to book when you think about how to treat people who work on software, how their attitude, how their experiences during the day will affect the software they build. So since I am trying to build teams, and I usually had to do it in a fast pace in a startup, I usually have to increase the size of the team in different ways, depending on different times when you're strapped for money, and times you are in a rush to get something out of the door and all this stuff. So understanding how to motivate people, how to deal with them, how to select the best candidates is a complex topic, and you usually don't have there's no right way, exactly right way to do it. There is lots of finesse in this subject. So this is basically what Peopleware is about. And I would talk about a little bit about how I would go about building a team and how their structure impacts the software we're building and so on.
When I was preparing for this, I did some Googling around for Peopleware, and I did see a book, but it had trees on the front of it, and I actually just skipped it. But this is actually the book you're talking about. So there's trees on the front. And it's called Peopleware, Productive Projects and Teams. Third edition's on Amazon by Tom DeMarco and Timothy Lister. I'll put a link to that on the show notes. So if people want to check that out. So I love it that I'm learning new stuff.
And another book I really like about the topic is Facts and Fallacies in software development or software projects. And it's by Robert Glass. And it's really an eye-opening book when you deal with software. When you build software or you get involved in building software, it's really an eye-opener about many misconceptions, maybe counterintuitive stuff you usually believe about, and then find out that they are wrong when you deal with the industry.
Fascinating. And again, this book has an owl on the front of it. There's a very natural thing. So no, this is awesome. So I guess before going into how to build teams with it, what problem does it solve? Meaning, why would someone care about these patterns or methods? Who cares? I guess.
Well, actually, it's almost the premise of the book that says software engineering is not really an engineering field because it doesn't have the solidity of an actual, like the architecture field. When you build a building or something like this, you have some rules that you can lean on, and tried and true methods that are almost negating any other method, and you can measure how this method is better than this method and so on. In software, it's much more complex. You cannot really have a definitive pattern because every day we're building something new. So one of pioneers in the software industry said software engineering is like engineering before discovering the arch. So before discovering the arch, buildings were caves. So there are buildings and they look nice, but they are not really well engineered, you would say. So some people also feel like this area is an art form. It's not really a science, which is not true. Definitely not true. And we have like a scientific book that's called the Software Engineering Body of Knowledge, which really scientific in its methods and it gives you frameworks and stuff that you can follow and succeed. But still, there is a small component, and it's getting smaller by time. But as software gets more complex, and still there is a balance between how fast we can learn to solidify the science and how quickly we can have to do. We get to build new stuff that we don't know anything about. Mm-hmm. So it's like because it's still a maturing science, although it's been around for a very long time. So the need here came from like you need to have great people working on this subject in order to succeed, because you still can't give them like a manual and they can run with it.
Yeah, I was going to say that this might come as a surprise to people who are maybe outside of the technology or software space, that people can think. Maybe it's one of the fallacies that, there really is a science here, meaning it's predictable, it's routine, that you can just take one, say, architect or engineer or developer, and they're replaceable easily. Yeah, these are can't be further from the truth. So so just jump in and share your insights on how you're building or how you've learned to build strong, productive peopleware.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the almost usually a challenging pieces is always when you trying to build a release or trying to build a piece of software, and you get some struggle. You are slipping in the timeline. You are late in the delivery. You have some bugs and stuff like this. This is something that happens with most projects. They get a risky phase where you have to manage the risks and so on. So usually at this part, people start yelling, we need more process, we need more people, we need more like punch in and punch out, and more structure, and we try to basically control the uncontrollable with more layers of complexity, which is already something. You are building something very complex. You don't need more complexity. So the argument here is when you then you can start learning about all these complex methodologies and frameworks. I'm sure you are familiar. So should we go with waterfall? Should we go with Scrum? We made a bad decision and we went with Agile, and now we should switch it back to a more formal Prince and all the names and all the titles, which are perfectly suited. But once you pick one, maybe you have to stick with one a little while. And when things start to get out of control, maybe you don't have to put more structure in. Maybe you need to think about it differently. So one of the ways of describing it is when you fly in an airplane going to a place, let's say crossing the Atlantic or whatever, would you be more comfortable knowing that this machine or this airplane was built by engineers who were using this methodology or the other methodology like waterfall, or would you be more comfortable learning that this engineer is a smart, dedicated, trustable person who worked on this piece? So he knows his craft and he's really passionate about it. Which one would you choose? So it's really counterintuitive when you think about it. Usually, when you have chaos, you want to control it. So my advice here, and I've been trying this for a while, and I guess I had some success in it, is talk to your people. Make sure you are aligning with them. Make sure you stress on their best principles and best. Like you utilize their talent and try to maximize the human thing or the people thing or the people side about them, not the technique side or the technology side about them. So this is one of the areas I wanted to talk about.
Why do you think a perhaps natural or unnatural reaction from managers when things start to get stressful that they want to control more or direct more? Why do you think that happens? Or when have you done that? When have you done that in your past that you said, "Oh, I'm now scared, and now I'm going to impose and control"?
Yes.
Why do you think that happens?
Because usually you find something that's out of the expected. Someone struggling with a piece of with like his task. You might find that people are not integrating the work correctly when you like maybe have this piece or this task is finished and this task is finished, and you try combining them to build a larger thing, and you find things are falling apart. This usually happens towards like the third, the last third of the project, or the second half of a project. Usually at this time you feel like, okay, let's put more structure. Let's some people will say, okay, let's put more hours, let's put more people, which is also another fallacy or misconception. One of the also like famous. They call it the Bible of software engineering. Is the Mythical Man Month's book. They call it. They say it's the book that everyone read and no one works with, or everyone has and no one read. It says or builds under the premise that you can have you can have a baby in 9 months with one pregnant lady, but you cannot have 9 ladies bringing a baby to the world in 1 month. So adding more people to a complex thing is not really going to make it faster. It will just add more communication and complexity to the mix. And so the premise here is always try to simplify things when they go wrong, not really add more complexity to them. Yeah.
And the Mythical Man Month, I'll put that in the show notes as well. That has dinosaurs. So we've got trees, owls, dinosaurs. Well, something I've noticed is and for some reason it always bites us in the bum, in the backside, is if you have a number of issues to solve, and people seem to celebrate that, we're solving issues, and so that curve is going down to, we're going to get to 0 issues. But it's always the hard issues that they keep pushing away, meaning, let's solve the easy one. But then the big hairy problem that is complex, across multiple functions, or is rooted in just a fundamental architectural decision that like, let's solve that next week. And so then those just get pushed until the end, and like, we've only got 3 issues left, but they're all severely blocking. And that's just a fascinating dimension of humanity. So keep going. So how do you build groups of humans working together that don't fall into some of these traps? So I try to maybe sometimes build small interactions or small ceremonies here and there that will help people discuss these topics more. One of the famous ones is one-on-one meetings between a manager and his direct report or so. These are very, very useful in solving this complexity, because in this meeting you don't have to talk about the work. You need to just talk about the person, how he's doing, how he's feeling, and how he's faring in the job, and also asking questions, basically build a rapport and build more trust. As you introduce more of these interactions, and most engineers, or maybe this is my experience only, are introverts by nature, maybe, and maybe like they try to. The job is basically dealing with a machine instead of dealing with another person, but which is totally hard to achieve, like extremely difficult. If you only focus on the machine, you will not succeed. You get very talented engineers, and they know their stuff very well, but they are hard to work with, very difficult people to work with. They cannot build anything beyond a small piece of or a small project, because when you want to build something large or something great, you need a team, you need an org behind you. You need a whole village. One of the methods I usually take in these one-on-ones is trying to figure out the disk profile for each person. A disk profile is basically trying to categorize people in their behavior into 4 categories: dominant, sustenance person, and they call it controlling or calculating person, and intuitive or basically an outgoing person. So when you try to find out where they lean towards and try to push them back or mentor them back towards the middle of the spectrum. So you don't want an engineer who's very calculating. So every move he takes,
he needs to mull it over for years and hours and do studies and risk analysis for every single move. And you don't want him on the other side who like makes a run for it without any preparation or any calculation. So you want to balance people between these four dimensions. I find there are many ways to try to find how people behave and their inclinations. And there are many theories, so it doesn't matter which theory you use. It only matters that if you find something on the extreme of one side, you try to guide him back into some balance, to find some balance in his. And also this is not related. What's fascinating about this one, it's not related to personality. It's not related to who you are. It's only related to how you do work. So we are usually calculating when you do work. Maybe it impacts other aspects of your life, but still it manifests more when you do work. So
I'm curious, Mohammed, to pull on that string a little bit. Where are you on the disc? Like what kind of?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a dominant person. I'm not direct. You call it dominant or direct. I'm not direct at all. I'm more of an introvert. So I'm more of the calculating and sustainable guy. The sustenance guy is more of a guy who would maybe watch out for your well-being and maybe try to bring together the team and find common ground between everyone. He's a nice guy, you would say. I tend to be in this area. He's also the last person who would be pushing people, I would say. He would not. He's not perfect in pushing people or motivating them or maybe being assertive a little bit. It's not in the assertive spectrum. The dominant and the intuitive are in the assertive side, and the other two are in the non-assertive side. So the assertive side is more successful in leading and managing and so on. So and I all worked very hard to try to like move myself somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, because it's really sometimes it's your nature, or sometimes it's not really what the first response you try to give. Yeah. So yeah.
Where do you think I am?
I need to see you working. I need to observe it more, but I would say you have more of calculating and intuitive side. You have a mix between both. I didn't see the two other sides as much. Everyone has like a rating on all the spectrums, but these two maybe pop out. Would you agree or would you not agree?
Well, we all have different, say, aspects on these dimensions, but I typically come out in a yellow, so the sort of the innovative mix between people and action oriented, as opposed to a lot of executives who are very red, the more directive, domineering, less, more task transaction oriented than so I'm typically on the right side. So it's sort of the supportive, innovative, encourager type of role. But I think, like you, depends on the context. We can always be a bit more directive or say fact-based or data-driven, depending on the context. So, cool.
I see a nice balance, because one of them is the other side, and one of them is more on the assertive side, and one of them is not. One of them is more on the people side, and one of them is on the task side. So I see a nice balance, and it's not like these two quadrants work very well together, I would say.
Yeah. When I take the test, I'm always pretty much bang in the middle as well. Meaning, I just looked up a crystal nose score. When you were talking, I looked up my crystal nose score, which is this AI mining, from LinkedIn and stuff. And I think it's pretty accurate in general. And that put me sort of center of the thing, but have been to the top right to the yellow. So it's no, I personally love when building teams to use methods like this, not to categorize people, but to understand people and also myself. So
Yes.
like if I, and there's also different contexts. So like if I'm in a stress mode versus a calm mode, then I know my personality will have different dimensions. And then if someone else is stressed or calm, that can sometimes contribute to really easy collaboration or instant conflict. And it's through that self-reflection that, for me, that things can really start working. So it's interesting that we're talking about technology through Peopleware, but then we've gotten down to really this character, personality, self-discovering, which I think is brilliant, because that's, I consider technology a very human activity. So it's
I struggled with managing teams before I really looked into this side. I would say I was a fairly good engineer, and this is usually what gets you promoted in the engineering orgs. You do your tasks very well, and you are a good developer, and you write nice code and all the stuff. So you get promoted, and you're usually way over your head, because you suddenly have to you have to be responsible for other people's success. So this is usually where you like.
Let me pull on that one.
Yeah.
Responsible for other people's success. How can you possibly be responsible for someone else's success? Trick question.
Usually if you manage a project or deal with a project or own a project or something like this, the final outcome is our all success, or the whole team's success, and the failure as a leader, I would say it's usually the leader's failure.
So I think for me, if you're talking about the business output or outcome, then the traditional leadership structure definitely puts that leader in an accountable and responsible role. But for me, I avoid being responsible for another person's own personal success. Meaning I do everything I can to create a space for those people to succeed and thrive and grow and learn and give and contribute. But earlier in my career, I said, well, I'm here to help you succeed. And that's just something I can't own. I can't own. Right. So it's
But would you be responsible for helping them not fail? Or like,
well, I can be responsible for creating the space and interacting in a way, for example, that I think would be most positive for you. And I can, based on my character and personality and yours, I can engage appropriately to help you out of giving and care and love, like, hey, this is some, this is what I'm observing. These are some risks. These are some suggestions, but it's always up to that person to manage themselves. And sometimes managing themselves means ignore advice. Everyone should have the right to ignore advice. True. So it's, so we're all on these learning journeys together. And for me, that's what a team is a group of people growing, learning, giving to each other, and achieving some sort of shared goal and having fun along the way. So, and I'm so looking forward to doing that, because we've signed our deal, between Destiny and Tactful, I guess about a month ago. We're going through all the hygiene of stuff, and now we're starting to, we're going to have our announcement event in Cairo in a couple of weeks, and I'm just delighted to work with you and create that space for you and your team to succeed. So,
me too.
I want to go back to Peopleware, and one quick question is because we touched a lot of different topics, but if you were to come out with one principle or one nugget that you would love people to take away from the conversation, what would be that main point that you would love to give to people?
I would say it's people before technology, or people before methodology, and I would say also it's simplicity over complexity if you can.
Yeah, Love it. Well, I love simplicity over complexity. That's my that's my life struggle, my life journey. So outstanding. Mohammad Hassan, I'm delighted to be working with you. Looking forward to contributing to the success and the space of success for you and the team. People can learn more about what you're working on at Tactful AI. You can learn more about Destiny at dstny.com. So those are two different businesses that will be coming together. Tactful Products, the customer experience solution, is available. So if people are in Europe or anywhere that are seeking to learn more about that, then I think on the website you can say book a demo, and I'm sure you guys would love to have a conversation with people about it. And we'll be doing more refining on that. And a little plug for the podcast. If people want to learn more about simplicity, there is a simplicity toolkit at ebullient.com that you can download for free, which gives for me a lovely and simplified view of a business design architecture that you can improve your own business. So check that out at ebullient.com. And don't forget to share the episode, subscribe if you can, and share the good news about people before technology and simplicity before complexity. So, Mohammad, thank you so much for joining. This was great.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for listening. Download the Simplicity Toolkit from Ebullient.com to discover the power of the Simplicity Scan and Sprint. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player.